Loons podcast. We are the invaders of the cigar world. Cigar Kurt, the front porch cowboy. Against a ginger grizzly bear with a super palate. Cigar Loons, invaders of the cigar world. Grumpy preacher, the conspiracy theory expert. Cigar podcast, come and join us. Vitola and proof expert on all things spirits. Tobacco genie stitch director of special operations. Cigar Loons podcast, we are the invaders of the cigar world. Cigar Kurt, the front porch cowboy. Against a ginger grizzly bear with a super palate. Cigar Loons, invaders of the cigar world. Preacher, the conspiracy theory expert. Cigar Loons podcast, come and join us.
Howdy.
Hello, hello.
America. And of course,
Everybody
tonight we've
talk at
got
once.
Oliver, who's joining us from United Cigars. And welcome to the show, Oliver. And we hope you're having a great day. And we've already got a comment that's come in from Nick C. And he goes, Oliver, what a stud. So we've already got someone watching. We have.
Oh, my.
What's up, Nick?
Of course.
Yeah.
You've got me, of course, Gaz at Rocky Cigar Reviewer. Of course, we've got Kurt at Cigar Kurt. We've got Grumpy at Grumpy Preacher 58. We've got Matthew at Vitola and Proof. And, of course, we've got Jesse at Tobacco G-Sticks. And hello, welcome to all the people that are watching us on Instagram, of course, on Rumble, and also through YouTube. But, of course, we're going to be sitting down with Oliver tonight from United, and we're going to be talking about the company and finding out how the company started, and then, of course, how Oliver got into the company, and talking about the great cigars that have come out. So, of course, guys, say hello and welcome to Oliver. So, Kurt, and everyone pass it around, and all of you say hi and tell Oliver, of course, where you're from in the United States. So, Kurt.
Welcome, Oliver. We appreciate you being here. I'm up in the Blue Ridge Mountains, way up in North Georgia. Tonight, I'm smoking the Red Anchor, and I got some Eagle Rare that I'm sipping on. So, looking forward to chatting with you, and looking forward to a great show. Welcome.
Thank you.
Grumpy.
Hey, appreciate you being here with us, man, taking time out of your busy day and schedule. I'm hanging out down here in the Florida Panhandle, about halfway between Tallahassee and Pensacola. That's where we're hiding out at tonight. But thank you for being here.
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, Matthew.
What's up, man? Thank you so much for coming on. I am definitely under the weather tonight, so my voice is all weird. But I'm up here in Cleveland area, Ohio, and we're just really happy to have you on.
And then, of course, we go over to Jesse.
Yeah, how's it going? Definitely thank you for taking the time for being here. And yeah, I'm coming out of Washington State, Pacific Northwest. But I'm in Central Washington, so don't think Seattle.
All right.
Yeah.
We're in country,
So, of course, basically, as you see, a lot of guys from America, and of course, the crazy English dude. But anyway, that's enough of that. So, Oliver, like we say, welcome, of course, to the show. And, of course, we want to go over the whole thing of United Cigars and how United Cigars started to then the journey of where they are now. And then, of course, your journey into cigars and how you came to be working, of course, at United as the director of operations, because it's a job in itself as director of operations. But of course, how did the company start at United, and then how did you get into it?
All right, yeah. So yeah, long history, but I wanted to, first and foremost, thank you guys for, digging me up, searching, and finding me, and inviting me on the show on a Tuesday evening here in sunny New Hampshire. But thank you for bringing me on. So United Cigars, it has a long history. 1901 is when the company actually started, and it was kind of like a newspaper shop, convenience store. They sold tobacco, and that turned into over 3,000 locations across the U.S. And the more we research it, no balloon trick tonight, there, Tech. But the more we look into it and we see these historical montages put together, you see signs of United stores throughout these clips, and so it just gives me a deeper appreciation of what United was when it started, and now kind of bringing it to 2024 where we are today. So the company, as I said, built to over 3,000 retail locations. They had a flying cigar lounge at one point, really just advertising, but they lost the company and it was bought out in the 60s, I think 64, and then we picked it back up as a brand and started to kind of redevelop the concept. And in 2009, United Cigars launched as a group to work with retailers, have different blends to showcase and share with cigars that weren't discounted online. They were trying to protect brick and mortar, and it was just slower growth for a company when there wasn't a lot of boots on the ground to help build the company. So I started in 2016 after 14 years in Las Vegas, working for a cigar company out there, and we were a retail company in Las Vegas. So we had about 12 retail locations, about 10, 12 cigarette hostess programs, a lot of wholesale. And I started to get into the manufacturing side early on, and we had a few brands that were just for us internally that we use for wholesale and the cigarette hostess programs. And then it turned into more national distribution with a flavored line that we came out with in 2004, I believe, called Sweet Daddies. So there were a few different flavors that we had there, and we started to bring that out nationally. But 2007 is 6-7. We started to hear the rumblings of FDA, and kind of decided to abandon that project. And in 2004, we had actually, as a company, had partnered with Fuente and Ashton, and they had started the Casa Fuente lounge at Caesars. So we started to get into more of the mixology programs and the cigar bars. So then we started to kind of go down that path, and for me, with a small family, that wasn't the direction I wanted to necessarily go in. So I helped them with the operations and a lot of the trainings and the merchandising. And in 2011, I had moved to Las Vegas, I had moved to Salt Lake City. Just for a year, opened up, helped someone open up a restaurant there, and then took off and moved back where I was originally from to Boston, Massachusetts, and started working in hospitality. I was out of the cigar business from 2012 to 2016, where I still smoked and still kept in touch with friends in the industry. And then 2016 started, and I jumped on board with United Cigars because it was still, even though it already had 7 years of new growth to it, it was still a very young company. So they had they had presented the portfolio to me. I smoked through it. I learned a little bit about the history. The portfolio is anywhere from $1.50 all the way up to $75. So looking at what we had to offer, again, 25 different lines, and then some. That just haven't rolled into our portfolio yet, because there has to go. We need a rebranding, we need reblending. So the portfolio was just so extensive. But as I sat down and learned about the cigars, I just wanted to have that challenge to now really take something nationally, have somebody that was going to support me and the company, and allow me to travel from coast to coast and introduce the lines. And when I looked at the portfolio, we mentioned earlier Adab. Adab's at the time was our most expensive and our luxury line. So that was where I wanted to put the focus, because having the luxury line as kind of the workhorse behind the company is, I thought was just an important piece, because everything else will just funnel down through. So just started to introduce Adab to retailers, and explaining the process of the aging behind Adab and all selected tobacco products, which I'd never heard of. So when I first sat down, really as the interview during the process, learning about Adab, coming from a Las Vegas market where we had expensive cigars, still at that point there were cigars that were only 10, 12 was expensive. When you started getting into the 12 or the like the $17, $20 range, that's where it started to get really premium. And I just didn't know if there was a market for it. But when I learned about Nelson Alfonso, the man behind Selected Tobacco, the process of Adab, Byron, Bandoleros, and then sitting down and smoking one, I had never experienced anything like that before in my life. So I absolutely wanted to take it on, and I had to introduce it to people. But at the time, there was really, from what I was told from retailers, and which I kind of knew, there were two cigars. And this is how I was not literally kicked out of retail stores, but almost kicked out of retail stores, because they would say, at that price point, that's Davidoff, that's Padron, that's not you guys. I said, all right, well, if this isn't the right time for you, I completely understand. But I've been smoking cigars since 87, 88, and this particular cigar, being the Adab, goes through an aging process unlike any cigar on the market. When we say 5 years of age, I always have to stress process. It's 5 years of an aging process. So the tobacco is already aged, and everyone uses aged tobacco to begin with, right? So that's a safety word for a lot of companies, and even us. We say we have aged tobaccos, and then the tobacco can even sit longer for some cigars, but it doesn't. You can take aged tobacco and it can still be a bad cigar if it's not made properly. So the Adab is a cigar that, after it's rolled, it goes through an aging process of the first year sitting in an aging room with 5 different cedars. Nelson Alfonso will use Cuban, Spanish, Mexican, Brazilian, and Lebanese cedars. Then he'll lower humidity and raise it back up, so that the cigar actually purges when it's shrinking. It's purging any other impurities. And then when it's going and expanding to that 70 plus, it's breathing in all the different cedar notes. So it's constantly aging for that first year. And Nelson does that in that first room to purge any other impurities that could possibly be in the cigar. Once it goes through that first stage of aging, after that first year, it goes into another aging room with the 5 different cedars, and it will continue to go through that process for an additional 4 years. So it's a minimum of 5 years for Adab. On Byron, it's a minimum of 3 to 5 years of aging. And on Bandolero, it's 1 to 2 years of post-roll aging. So if you've ever had the chance to smoke one of the selected tobacco products, you'll notice it's very clean on the palate, and that's that additional aging. So that's the time that goes into the cigar. That's why you'll have the elevated price, similar to a whiskey, a scotch, a wine, any spirit that's aged. You have an elevated price because of the time and the additional materials that are used, all that, the cedars, the different cedars that play a role in the aging process. So that was just something I had to introduce to not to the world, but to the country. And with our portfolio in United, not that I've adopted the same thing, but I want to make sure that all of our cigars rest for at least 90 days before they go out. Our Gold Star limited release that we just put out last year was a cigar that aged for over 120 days. So it's just something that the cigars need to rest and need to age, and it's unfortunately missed with some cigars out there.
Yeah, something. You see that, and something. It's great to know. There's for that extra 5 years in the Adab with the different cedars and the techniques that's used to it, to them when it's released. And of course, I've never smoked the Adab, but I have heard great things about it, and we've heard great things about United Cigars. This is, of course, why I wanted to get you on and have a chat with you and get the brothers on a chat with you. Because we see the cigars, of course, we see the different collaborations that have been done, like with Aganosa, of course. And we see these, and we see United, and we see them constantly posted, and people are smoking them and enjoying them. And this is why we get around this, because we learn more by sitting with someone like yourself and then learning the story. But my next question is, so that break from 2012 to 2016 to then coming back into the cigar industry, did you find it hard coming back into the cigar industry with having that break away? Or was it just like putting on a pair of shoes? You knew what you were doing, and it was easy to come back into.
Yeah. So that was it was an interesting period, because if you look back, like even today, when you look at the cigar industry, it's just there are more bloggers, more podcasts, more social media is involved in the growth of a company, where we didn't have that back when I was in Vegas with with the other brands, and to leave. I mean, I don't think I think I started on Instagram maybe in like 2014, and I know it had been around for a little bit, but it wasn't part of my daily routine. So to jump back into the cigar industry wasn't necessarily an issue until I started to get into more of the marketing side of it. I graduated with a marketing degree from Boston College here, and at that point we were just starting to talk about web design and things of that nature. So it was just a very different time. Even in Las Vegas, when we first launched the website, there were a lot of these big giants that are around now that were just catalogs. They were just starting to get into the internet side of the business, and the ones that jumped on it early and put their focus on it. I mean, now they're the juggernauts. But it wasn't necessarily a challenge to jump back in. It was almost like a little relief jumping back into it, because it was something that I knew that I loved, that I was used to. The hospitality side that I had just grown up with my entire life. My father was in the hotel business for forever. That's all I knew. I mean, my weekends or vacations, holidays, they were spent in hotels, and we were the hotel brats that we had a room, and we're running through the hallways, and we're bowling with oranges down the hallway, and we're just getting into trouble. We're going in the back rooms, we're going in the kitchen. We could we had full access. So it was a different different lifestyle. But so I had that hospitality kind of mindset, and that's where it helped me get into that other avenue that we were going into with the company in Las Vegas. And then I try to bring that into my cigar side, because this is it's a luxury that we have to be able to spend this time and smoke and enjoy a cigar. And all lounges should adopt that that theory of the hospitality side of the business, and for some it's lost, but I think a lot of the newer shops have really embraced it, and you can see the difference in, well, for us in the purchases they make, because they're going through cigars, because they're giving people a home that they can go to and enjoy a cigar.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Something we've seen. There's some of the cigar lounges here in the UK. They're just slowly adopting the hospitality side. And I've worked in pubs, I've worked in nightclubs. I'm an ex-bouncer and different things, and it's a different side because he's trying to keep the customer there and keep that bum in that seat. And while you've got that bum in the seat, they're going to be buying, of course, liquor. They're going to be buying, of course, cigars, and they're going to stay, which is great for the company. And of course, the more cigars they sell, the more cigars they buy, which is a great thing. And I think a lot of that needs to be adapted in cigar lounges, like you were saying, of having this hospitality side. And then, of course, using that to then keeping the person in, keeping them interactive. Because some cigar lounges, you walk in, what do you want? Or they follow you in. Do you look at what cigar you get? And then there's no other social interaction. And I think a lot of it is social interaction to keep you in there. If you don't feel comfortable and it doesn't feel friendly, you're going to pick a cigar up and you're going to leave and go home. But anyway, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pass it around to the brothers so they can ask some questions. And then, of course, I'll come back and I'll ask some more. So, Kate, I'm going to start up with you, my brother.
All right, Oliver, I got a couple questions for you. I'm smoking, as I said, the Red Anchor tonight. Absolutely phenomenal. Love the cigar. If you would, I know this trademark goes back all the way to 1770. Like, I think last year was the 250th anniversary of it.
Could
you give us a little history behind that, and how in the world did you guys find this?
Right. Yeah. So how do you find a brand that started in Delft, Holland in 1770? It became a brand in 1772. Oh, we do. Oh, all right. I thought Grumpy, I thought you had a question there, but I think we were doing.
No, he was waving.
Hi. I got it.
We're saying hi to it. Good.
All right. So Red Anchor started as a brand in 1772 in Delft, Holland, and then there was a fire in the factory, and the brand just kind of lingered around for a little bit, and then it went away. We picked it back up, just doing the research that's done is not necessarily daily, but you're trying to create something and either come up with a brand that was existing or recreate something. And for United, we were looking at lines that could where the image or the symbol can stand on its own. So I redesigned the firecracker, which you guys had mentioned earlier. So the firecracker has a red anchor on the bottom behind the eagle and behind the shield. And the shield's on there because it's the United shield. So we want symbols that just kind of stand for the cigar. And Red Anchor, when you look at it, and this was very apparent during COVID, where customers would come into or even drive up to, because they couldn't go in, a retailer, and they couldn't remember what they had smoked on a regular basis, and they would ask retailers, just get me this brand, and they're like, well, Kurt, that's not the brand you smoke. You normally smoke this. He's like, well, yeah, I don't remember that one. Just give me this. So you have customers that are new or just starting out, or family members coming in, or friends of a cigar smoker coming in to purchase cigars, and they can't remember the names. So Red Anchor was just something that stood out. When you look at it, you'll remember the band is, well, it had something red on it. It had they might say, it had a hook on it or it had an anchor on it. So we wanted something that was impactful, that was memorable, that was just iconic. And Red Anchor was one that we took on and then just rebranded. One of the original designs, it did have an anchor in the background, but it was darker red, and it had a woman that it just seemed more prominent in the imagery. So we just brought the Red Anchor to the front. I mean, it's not, it wasn't a very complex thought process to say, hey, what should we do for Red Anchor? It's a Red Anchor on the band. Right. The port in the background is actually the port of in And when we started to put this together, we had originally, we wanted to work with the Kellner family because Henke Kellner was originally, the family was originally from Holland, and that's where they started. So we thought it could be a good tie-in for the family, and ended up working with KBF, so the Kellner Boutique Factory, and Hendrik Kellner, the son, who had spent a number of years in the in the cigar industry with Davidoff, and started his own company and his own factory, and sat with him. We started selecting different tobaccos and putting a blend together, and we wanted something that was approachable. Still had I find the cigar to be more medium plus.
Right.
I'll do some retro. I've had some people that say it's very mild, and that's the beauty of the industry. You never know what's going to be a hit. You never know what's going to be a dud. You never know, where people's palates are gonna fall. But when I'm trying to work on these blends, I'm trying to find something that I find enjoyable, that doesn't leave this lingering harsh taste. I want some character to it where I can taste the different profiles of the tobacco. So we tried to blend something that was nice for me, again, nice medium bodied, a little bit of spice on the retrohale, and just a memorable cigar. So a lot of history with the cigar. It did come out 2 years ago for the 250th anniversary of the line, and now we have 4 sizes. We have the Captain, which is our Robusto, the Gunner, which is 6.5 by 43. The Admiral, which is our Toro, is 6 by 52, and then the Commodore, which is a 7 by 58. So it's a great line. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Perfect. Now my next question is kind of an overall question. So I guess we kind of view you as a you guys you're managing several brands or multiple brands, and you're kind of up at that higher level. And I was just kind of curious from the 30,000 foot view. Some people say we're in a boutique boom right now. Boutique cigars. I'm just kind of curious what you think about is the state of the cigar industry right now. So if you had to give a State of the Union address as far as cigars, where do you think we're at? And you can go anywhere you want with that, but I'm just kind of curious to see, from your perspective, how the industry's doing right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, it can be viewed a couple ways. The U.S. still imports more cigars than the rest of the world, but
Right.
Those numbers, I think they showed the numbers were up, but on the retail side, the numbers are down. So it's a different dynamic. There was, when you look at numbers, the numbers may have gone up, right, because of the price point for cigars. You saw a big increase in retail price for a single cigar. There were a lot of companies that, similar to like the Adab and our luxury lines, that started to go in the $20, $30, $40 range.
Right.
And when you had the COVID time, people were smoking more, but they were spending a little bit more. So dollar wise, I think everything went up. Numbers wise, it seems like it went up, but now I think we see a trend where there's more of the budget friendly or more approachable cigars are selling more. So the dollar number may go down, but the quantities are still there as they were. But it's still a healthy market. As far as boutiques, I think there are just more, like us, because we put out a lot of different lines. There are more smaller, lesser known lines on the market now, because it's not as much of a challenge to put lines out as it was before. You have more access to the social media platforms where you can launch a line. So there are some lines that are sold direct to consumer, or it's a drop, one drop for a brand that maybe they put on their packaging and their design, their label, it's their blend, and they just do a smaller production. So it's kind of all over the board, and I think it's healthy for the industry because it's bringing new cigar smokers in. But for the boutique side, it's still a challenge for retailers to know, should I put this on the shelf and build a customer base, or is that company going to in a year or two kind of drop the retail side or focus more on direct to consumer? And I've built this up, and it's more of a trust issue for boutiques, because there's the cash flow for a company is tough in any business. And when you're looking at cigars, there's a lot of startup cost, and there's a risk involved when you're buying the inventory. It's not like you're selling stuff on Amazon and you're not housing any products. They're facilitating everything. This is a tangible product that when you're importing it into the US, you're paying the broker fees and the shipping to import it, and then you're also paying the S chip, which is a tax on cigars automatically, and it averages out by the time with brokers and everything. I think the S chip is 44 cents per cigar. So automatically, no matter what size, the company, the manufacturers are paying a tax that then has to be rolled up, to the cigar, to the retailer, to the consumer. So everything just adds up. So for the boutique line, it's tough. I think it's healthy for the market right now. There are a lot of boutique lines, and there are a lot of just smaller companies that are putting out some great products.
Yeah, I know. I'm up here right near Blue Ridge, Georgia. My home lounge is right in downtown Blue Ridge, and it's a huge tourist destination. And 70 to 80% of his business is tourists. So he has to carry. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business. He's got to. People are coming up to the mountains for the weekend to pick up a cigar, smoke around the campfire.
Yeah,
they're going to pick up what they know, and it's so hard for him to take a chance on a boutique or some smaller lines. He does some of it, but most of it, what I see in that lounge is just the big names, what everybody's used to, because that's what people come in and want, and that's what they want to buy.
Yeah.
So I see your point on that. My next question is, your company is associated with probably the top podcast out there, the Cigar Authority. And I saw a post on there regarding what's going on this platform here, and they've been on there 14 years. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause we're starting to see that a little bit across social media. It comes and goes on, especially on TikTok. We fight with it all the time, but this is the first I've seen the battle with this platform, and I hope it doesn't put a monkey on our back. But
with YouTube, or
yeah.
I think how much information do we give them, or how much do we talk about it? It's a challenge. I mean, they get kicked off of Facebook. It depends on what depending on the platform and the company and their policies and what they want to view as harmful, to adults who can make their own decisions. Then it seems like they change the policies, because I've seen some things that are offensive to me, or hurtful for maybe mentally hurtful, that are still online. But then when you talk about a cigar, they all of a sudden want to kick that off, because you're promoting something that's harmful, or they think you're promoting to kids. And I can see the challenge for tobacco, because they group everything together. So how do you distinguish one from the other? For us, for us it's easy, right? As a cigar smoker, you're like, well, vape is this, it's flavored, and it's it's easy to access, and you can smoke it almost anywhere, because the vapors go away and nobody smells it, and you can take a puff and then you're done within seconds. A cigarette, a little bit longer, right? It's going to take you, I don't even know what a cigarette. I mean, I had a teacher in high school. It seemed like he smoked one cigarette in a minute. It was like 2 puffs and then he was done. But a cigarette will take a little bit longer. And that would be more appealing to a younger crowd, younger generation, because they don't have the time, they don't have the patience, they might not have the financial means to buy a cigar. So, I don't think I personally don't think it's harmful to smoke a cigar in front of my kids. I'm not blowing smoke in their face, but as a recreational way to relax, a cigar is fine for me. I know for a fact that I can stop whenever I want, because I I slowed down quite a bit after I had left back to Boston. I got into hospitality. I wasn't smoking cigars because I wanted to smoke to enjoy it. It wasn't
Right.
because I had a need for it. So, these platforms, larger companies are making the decision to group it all together because they just don't, I believe, have the knowledge of what a cigar can do to a group, like to the six of us, how just sitting down like this, enjoying a cigar together, how that takes away the stresses of the day, the complications of life. It just allows you to reflect. Either you're by yourself or you're with a group, and you can kind of share. This is our therapy. This is this is our time to de-stress.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but all of us, we met on TikTok, and that's how we all came together over a year ago. And poor Gaz, just this week, his TikTok account of 2 years, boom, shut down, no appeal, nothing, gone forever. And it's just, and it's probably not even a real person. It's just a computer algorithm that's singling him out. And every single one of us posts cigar content on there. Jesse posts 6 videos a day, and he's fine, but poor Gaz got singled out over there in the UK, and he's gone. So I got to start from scratch again. So it's frustrating.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't
no,
just
no
my
rhyme or
account,
reason
was
to
it?
I'm
was
waiting.
the Cigar Loons. It was the Cigar Loons account, and
Yeah, it was
a lot of
Cigar
work went into that. Of course, telling people about the guests who were coming. Of course, if we were doing a cigar review, different things, and it just got taken down without any explanation. I went to the appeal and said, "Look, there's more cigar content on TikTok, and you've got to move with the times." I said, "It's all right when you've got a lady that's posting her breasts or she's posting a lower part of her body. That's fine to have on there. But of course, you've got kids that use that app." I said, "But you're telling me there's me posting a cigar or saying I'm going to be live with a guest is against your rules." I'm like, "You need to look at your rules." And the message back was, "You're not getting the account." And I was like, okay. And like Kurt said, of course, with what we've seen with the Cigar Authority, and especially using this platform, 2 strikes, you do it again, you lose your account. After 14 years, that's a lot of stuff to lose after 14 years.
Sure.
And as we've said, a cigar is a hell of a lot different to a pipe, to a vape, to a cigarette. We know it's a natural process with the tobacco, with the fillet, the binder, the wrapper, where a cigarette, we know, it's full of chemicals. It's pumped full of crap and rubbish. Okay, I haven't got a problem with cigarette smokers. My family, cigarette smokers. I'm probably the second person in my family to smoke cigars. My uncle was a big cigar smoker, went from cigarettes to cigars. And you enjoy what you enjoy, but I've always said, and the brothers know, and different people that I've spoken to, cigars shouldn't be in the same category as the rest of these smoking products that are out with cigarettes, hookah pipes, vapes, and all the rest. We should be separate. We never see pipes being brought up or pipe tobacco being brought up in any of these conversations. It's always cigars. They always go at cigars. They don't go at pipe tobacco. And I'm sorry to say, but it really pisses me off. And it does. It pisses me off when we see this, because it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't.
Right. No. And in the liquor industry, because they have more money and they, can shake more hands than the tobacco industry, or I should say the cigar industry. But the liquor industry can have all sorts of flavored liquors. They can have. Yeah, they can have cotton candy and whatever flavor they want to put into it, and then they're okay to do what they want. But then you talk about cigars, and it becomes an issue.
Yep.
But they're completely different. The only time, I shouldn't say the only time, but the one time that I know that the pipe industry came into came into light for during the FDA ruling was when you were mixing different jars of tobacco to create your own blend. Well, now that they consider that manufacturing, which I mean, I don't see how you can do that. It's not
Yeah.
manufacturing. You're not making your own blend to then sell, and you're blending the flavors that you like. So yeah, it's a challenge.
We have had a question that's come in, of course.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's from Brian. And he goes, how do you decide what cigars go to the market and what cigars get reworked? So that's from, of course, Brian.
Yeah.
That's his question. It is.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's that's again going back to FDA. That's what FDA was almost taking away the creative side of the industry, because you couldn't come out with something new. You couldn't have a cigar in a different quantity in the box. Like there were so many rules to follow. But I guess to answer the question, how do we decide? There are some cigars that or lines, I should say, that we want to create or focus on, that we think will have a little more longevity than something else, as opposed to our firecracker, which we do collaborations on. That's more short term. So those are fun, because we you mentioned Aganorsa earlier. We did one with All Saints for St. Patrick's Day, which was fun. That was a barber pole, so that was like a short collab. We did one with Rojas called the Elote firecracker for Cinco de Mayo. So those are fun little short collabs. So sometimes it's just it's a feeling. It makes us laugh, it makes us happy. Hey, let's do it. And then other times it's more of, okay, well, this is a business decision that we have to invest in, from the printing, the plate charges for color, embossing, and everything that goes into the printing side, and the box manufacturer, and the registering of the names, and there you're putting a little more effort in and time. So it's a little bit of everything, really. It's what makes you feel good, what makes you laugh. Sometimes just going down to the factories, I'll go down to the Dominican, really, because that's where a lot of our products are made. And we might work on something for a while, and we don't have a name for it, or we don't have a concept or a line for it, but we're just like, hey, you know what, this blend's starting to really develop and start to take life, so let's work on something for that. So it just depends on the mood, the feel, the year, the time, and the tobacco.
Very good. Well, Oliver, I appreciate your insight there. I'm going to pass it on over to Grumpy, but again, man, we're really glad you're here, and we really appreciate your time. So, Grumpy, let's see what you got for Oliver.
Well, I did, but like the first 10 minutes of the podcast, it was like playing Sink My Battleship, and you just like wore mine out. So, but you did clear one thing up, because my question was going to be about that very cigar. I didn't know whether it was pronounced Adab or Atabe, and you cleared that up. So I did learn something, and my question was going to be about that cigar, and because it was the whole Indian thing was what intrigued me about wanting to ask about that cigar. It was that Indian background that was in there, how it came about and all. But I mean, you wore that out, first 10 minutes. And it's I can thank you.
Yeah, I can tell you that Adab is the goddess of the Taino Indians. So
right.
As far as pronunciation, I say Taino. I've heard Taino. It's a gringo trying to say right, Taino. So that's Adab. That's your heritage. Yeah. So Adab was the goddess, and how that came about was Nelson Alfonso, who does a lot of design work out of Spain. He does design work for a lot of the international brands, and when they came out with the Cohiba Bejique, that came about because during his research, he was learning, what should we call it? What should we, what direction you want to go in? They kind of gave him, not full authority, but like, what do you think it should be? And the Cohiba was this spiritual ceremony,
right?
Where the tribe would sit in the circle, and that's the Cohiba. the Behique was the shaman, the tribal leader that would take all the prayers and the smoke from the raw cigar that they would smoke to go in the state of delirium and help them answer their prayers. And it was a special blend that he would put together based on what they were praying for. And that was a Behique who would then blow all the prayers through the smoke up to the goddess Adab. So, Nelson wanted the the Adab. He knew that was the top, and he wanted to keep that as the name of the brand. So Adab is the goddess, and not a very attractive figure when you look at the image of her, but it's interesting story that when you get deeper into it, for sure.
Yeah, I knew I could milk more out of that. I got one more curious question, and it may even be irrelevant to you. I don't know, but what are your thoughts on PCA moving?
Well, from the manufacturing distribution side, it becomes a little bit of a challenge because we have our booth is housed and stored in Las Vegas currently. So now we have to pay for the shipment out to New Orleans, and then you can either house it there, find a company to store it, or then you have to ship it back, and then it'll be in New Orleans again in 2026. So we have to ship it back as well. So there's an expense to that. Not astronomical, but when you think of the product that we're selling, cigars, shipping is going to be about 5,000-6,000. For our booth, everybody's booth is bigger, smaller, all depends. But yeah, it's about 5,000-6,000 to ship it. So everything starts to add up. I love the change in venue. New Orleans is is a lot of fun. Great food, great people. But yeah, it presents a challenge. But hopefully, retailers see it as an opportunity to see a new city. It could be. It's a different time of year than it typically is. It's in April instead of July, so that's a better time frame for people. But some retailers especially on the East Coast, they're coming out of the winter season. So financially, where do they stand? As far as buying power, as opposed to July when they've already had the spring season and warmer months to kind of ramp up and get ready to make their purchases for the fall and the winter. So it's a first year, and not everything's going to be smooth in anything you do. So we'll see how it is, and I'm sure there will be people griping, and there will be people that absolutely love it. So we're ready for either side.
I hear you. Well, I do appreciate it, and like I said, I appreciate you taking time being here with us, and I'll throw it down there and see what. Huh? What's that?
No, I said absolutely. I appreciate.
Oh, okay. I thought Gas said something over. Anyway, I'll throw it down there and let Jesse ask him a question or two. See what he's got on his mind.
Well, first of all, like everybody else said, thank you for being here. And second, I am very impressed with your Taino knowledge. Not a whole lot of people know too much about the Tainos, nor do they know a lot of the connection that the Tainos has with the cigar industry in general.
Oh, yeah.
From the very beginning, and that's pretty awesome to hear that. Makes my heart happy.
Thank you.
My question to you, my first question to you, is not going to be anything to do with United. My first question to you is, I want to know how, where, and when was it that you had your first cigar and you fell in love with cigars? What brought on this passion?
Yeah. So for me, with my family being overseas, uncles and family, grandparents, everybody. I was the first one out of my family to be born in the States, and then my younger brother was born in the States as well. But everyone else was born overseas, and the majority of my family is still in France now. So I say that because going back to visit, it would always be around the holidays. So there'd be big meals, big dinners, a lot of family over, and the adults would just smoke a lot, a lot of cigarette smoke. But I had a lot of uncles that were smoking cigars, and my father smoked cigars as well. So there was just, I guess, a piece of me that loved the nostalgia of the smell and the aromas of cigars. And starting out, I was never a cigarette smoker, but in high school, everyone's experimenting with different things, and I just took on cigars at the age of 16. I started smoking. I was taking cigars out of my dad's humidor, and then my first box, I bought a box of 50 of what was it called, Sweeties, I think. So just a machine made, but we were taking a ski trip as a school, which in our year of going up there, that was the last year that they ever did that, because sending a bunch of 16-year-olds up to Canada for a ski trip where drinking age isn't really enforced, turned into absolute mayhem. But yeah, I brought a box of cigars up there, and I was smoking those and sharing them with friends. And my first premium box was it was a 10-count box of Te Amo. That was the first box I was able to afford and purchase. And then from there, it just continued on. I just had a passion for it. I think again, when I was 16, I was just starting out. My dad had all these cigar books, and I read through them, and just kind of fell in love with the idea. So my passion started with the family, and then just escalated quickly after that.
Nice, very nice. That's awesome. That's kind of how like my background is family and heritage. Just being around. They always drew me to it, even though my immediate family, we didn't smoke, we didn't drink. We we grew up Pentecostal, really. So, there was none of that, any of that. But just still with
Right.
other family members and just being around it, in the island, like it was just something that, I was just drawn to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I think there's a good feel when you see. It's different for maybe it's not only me, but as a cigar smoker, I'm a little biased, but as when you see other people smoking cigars, and I saw family members smoking cigars, it was always for a special occasion, and I could see them relaxed in their chairs, and they weren't huddled outside to smoke a cigarette quick, but they were just relaxed, and there was always family laughing and stories. So it was just something that I wanted to kind of recreate for myself, and then it turned into a career.
Nice. It's always great when something that you love becomes something that helps you provide.
Yeah.
Well,
Amen.
I have one more question, and this is a wild pitch. With the history of United and Marvel, um,
Mm.
and we all know that there is one great character in Marvel that loves to smoke cigars.
Aquaman.
Would you guys ever would you guys ever make a Wolverine cigar?
So that's you did some digging. I like it. So yeah, United Cigars was bought by the same company that ended up, I think, buying Marvel Comics, and so there was a tie-in there, and we've looked at different things, but in the past we've come out with products that weren't well received because the perception was we were marketing towards kids. So we had a project called originally it was the cigar bar, and it looked like a Hershey's chocolate bar. So, and that was before I had started with the company. So when you talk about the Cigar Authority and Dave, David Garofalo, very creative, and that's why I think we work well together, because we can bounce things off of each other, and one's wilder than the next, and we're like, all right, yeah, let's do it. But he came out with a bar that looked very similar to that to that chocolate company, and so then people started to associate that packaging with with a chocolate bar. And there was a cease and desist, so that just went away. And I think that was 2010, maybe 2011. And then when I started in 2016, looking through the files, and I was like, hey, what's this? Because I didn't know about it before. I said, this could be fun and interesting if we take a cigar that's in the round, and we box press it and put it into packaging, but it's another collaboration. So the first one we did was with Aladino. So we did with JRE Tobacco, but we did the Aladino box pressed. So for us, it was, it could look like a chocolate bar, and then people will argue, they're like, you knew it looked like a chocolate bar. Well, adults like chocolate, so there's nothing wrong with it. The original boxes look like chocolate boxes because that's where vendors, retailers would put the cigars into these boxes to display them. So the argument could be, if you want to find an argument, you can find an argument in almost anything, right? So, so it was 3 cigars, they're box pressed, and we put them into this bar shape, and then that one went well, and that went out quick. Then the one that we got a lot of pushback with was, we celebrated with Rocky Patel. We did the silver bar for his 25th anniversary, and we took 3 different Rocky Patels. They box pressed them. It was a sun grown, the Cameroon, and the vintage. And those 3 cigars that come in the round were box pressed, put into this, so it gives the consumer just another, another angle at the product that they may love. So it was just something for fun. But that was there was a lot of pushback on that one because that's FDA was coming down on a lot of different manufacturers. But I don't know. We seem to be, again, under the microscope for that one because there were other brands that definitely had some products that were more geared towards kids. Even now, there are a lot of companies that have an advent calendar that have cigars in them. Mm. Now, if that's not geared towards kids, I don't know what is.
A wine advent calendar, a whiskey one,
right?
I mean, they got them all now.
They have them all, but that wasn't a problem, and I love the idea. I think it's great. It's fun. I mean, at heart, we're all kids, so why not do something like that? So to then I guess answer the question. We shied away from any Marvel or any comic characters because it's like, well, even though adults go to these movies and they go to Comic-Con and it reaches all different age spectrums, it's still mostly known as like a child character. So yeah, I don't think we're going to do it. If another company does it, God bless them. Hopefully it works. But yeah, we're going to stay away. Too many legal fees.
Yeah. I completely understand that.
There is a line out. As you know, Jess, there is a line out, and they're called the Banff superheroes. And there's a Batman, a Punisher, a Spider-Man, and a Superman. Mm-hmm. And of course, they're the Solomon size, Maduro wrapper, and of course, a Connecticut wrapper. And they're made by Banff, by Ishmael Olivan. And he said it was a hard process to put that together. And of course, getting in touch with the companies to use the stuff. And like you said, of course, it is mainly that child zone of comics, even though there's grown-ass adults like myself. I'm a big Batman fan. I'll admit it, I love Batman.
I mean, that's
of course,
what we
Matthew and all of
with,
us.
man.
Yeah,
right.
It's a crazy market, and it'd be nice to see something like that, but also we understand, of course, the legal ramifications and different things. It could be hard to do that, of course.
Well,
but if you go again, saying you can make an argument for Sorry.
Well, I just said if the Wolverine ever comes around, let me know.
Yeah, I'll let you know. But there could be an argument for anything. Going back to like Facebook, YouTube, and who are the decision makers to say what's right, what's wrong.
Yeah.
Could the argument be made that my son looked up to a lot of baseball players. There are cigars that have the name of Hall of Famers and baseball players. We did a cigar with Artista cigars, and we did the Big Poppy Firecracker. Could the argument be made that you're promoting this for the kids that are in Little League and they look up to Big Poppy and they're it's not right. So you can really make an argument for anything. I mean, there are cigars out there that have characters for different for Halloween. So those if you're saying that the cigar bar, which didn't have any our Rocky Patel silver cigar bar, that because it looked like not that it said candy or anything, but it looked like a candy bar, that we couldn't promote it. Well, then there's the argument for sports figures, for different monster characters, for different foods, and just because you change a couple letters in it but the graphics are the same. I don't know. I think they should just FDA should just kind of keep out of that zone for cigar smokers. Focus on the vapes that have the grapes and the cherries and the flavors, and they're accessible to kids because they're sold in gas stations. They're sold everywhere.
Yeah, tastes like cotton candy, guys.
Yeah, you're at the counter buying your mom's getting gas, or she says, "Hey, run in, just pay for the pay for the gas." Tell them I'm at pump 4. Well, you're in that you're in that gas station right at the counter. There's a whole lineup of cigarettes and vapes and everything else right next to the candy and the chocolate.
And no matter what anybody says, if you're in a small enough town in America, the clerk will still give it to you because you said, "Oh, your mom wants it."
Yeah, depending on the small. That's how it was before, right?
That's how it was before. But some towns, some of the smaller towns, they still do that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy. I'm myself. I started smoking cigarettes, then I went to chewing tobacco. And cigars were always in the picture. It was just always something, just random until, the last couple of years for me, then it's become more of an everyday thing, but it's still the same thing. I had a conversation with my wife's cousin who's trying to get off of vaping. And, I tell him it's like the addictive part is not the nicotine, because a cigar has 500 milligrams of nicotine versus like 12 to a cigar. The difference is all the chemicals that are in that cigarette, and all the chemicals that are in that chew tobacco and in your vape, and that's what is keeping you addictive, not the natural nicotine. Because I can go a week, 2 weeks, I can go however long without a cigar, um, but the FDA puts it out there to be whatever they want to perceive it to be, and people just listen to that, and it's unfortunate, but FDA can just go.
Well, of course, we're going to go. We're going to go over to Matthew now. So, Matthew, of course, what are your questions for Oliver, my brother? Because I know you're under the weather, and I can see you sitting there, and you're looking more paler as the minutes go past, my brother.
Sure, man. So I see you're sipping on something there in what looks to be a sniffer-shaped glass of some sort. There you go.
Yeah, a little outdoor tumbler.
Yeah, I got one similar to that. My typical go-to is whiskey. Tonight I was sipping on just a cheap bottle of rye because I can't taste anything. So it didn't matter. It just helped to clear my sinuses a little bit. What's your go-to for, sitting out at night with a nice whiskey or whatever?
Yeah, so I started shying away from whiskeys. I know this is probably gonna get me exiled, but whiskeys and scotches. And I drink a lot of tequila. Right now I
Awesome.
have the Código,
Okay.
and I think it's the Rose. So it's aged in Cabernet barrels. So it just has
Okay.
like this little, Cabernet taste, but it's just a smooth tequila. So Código, Casa Noble are kind of my two that I'll hate saying drink on a regular basis, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I got you.
Those
I got you.
those are my regular go-tos. But yeah,
Okay.
I drink a lot of tequila with my cigars now.
That's interesting. I've wanted to try to get into tequila, but it's like the one spirit I know almost nothing about.
That's the best part.
I dove into rum. I dove into whiskey, all different kinds of whiskeys, and I have just about some of everything behind me. And that's good. That's an interesting thing because we all try to do different things. I know Grumpy drinks coffee all day long, so he's always got coffee with his cigars. I often have coffee with my cigars as well. I've even tried beer because Gaz tells me it works, and it does kind of. I haven't found one that works great for my palate yet, but it's definitely interesting, and I like it. Yeah, rum is super
Yeah.
sweet. AJ, it's just
That's what I
works
got. It's
great.
rum.
Good contrast. Yeah. And then my other question, you're obviously smoking a lot of your own brand, your own brands that you guys carry. Do you have a go-to that is outside of your portfolio?
Yeah, it's a great question because there are, like I said, so many great cigars. I don't necessarily have a go-to, but I do. I always say patina because I think Mo's a great dude. He has a new Nicaragua that came out last year, so I bought a box of those. But Sinistro, James is a great dude. Ian
Yep.
Dapper, a lot of same with a lot of the boutiques. But there are so many like collaborations and brands that we have that sometimes it's harder for me to kind of deviate from those. The good and I don't want to say, I hate to say bad, I shouldn't say bad, but the good and bad about the United portfolio is that it's so vast. I mean, again, 25 lines deep plus the collaborations plus things that we might be working on. It's hard to, by the time I finish one, because I want to make sure quality's right, the cigars are burning correctly, they're smoking correctly, it's same blends,
Right.
consistent. By the time I get to the end, it's hard to go to something else. But and especially being on the road, I'll go into going into shops and I'm meeting with retail partners and doing events, so I have to and love to smoke our
Right.
portfolio. So yeah, so it's tough to deviate from it, but I would say those, I try to stick with the boutique lines, and I try to support them by picking up a box here or there from them.
That's great. Thank you.
Crux
I'm gonna
is
shoot
another
it
one.
back up to Gaz
Yeah.
now. Oh, Crux is nice. I like their cigars.
Yeah.
I've had them.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, you know something. You mentioned some good boutique lines there, but which one from Sinistro do you like? Because I've tried some of Sinistro cigars and I absolutely love the Last Cowboy and the Mr. Red. Them are my favorites.
Yeah. So what was that?
they've
The
made.
Rose? I think he just did a Rose or something like a newer
Yeah,
one. That
he's
I thought
just
was
done
really
some
good.
new ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. I just ran into him too, and we so there was, I don't think he's working with it, but Artista Ram, Ram's another one. Artista cigars, I like the Buffalo,
Yep.
Buffalo 10. But so we were talking, and in our United lines, United was the first reblend project that I had worked on that was really going into the tobacco and opening up the bales and trying different tobaccos. And I came across a Dominican broadleaf that I'd never tried before, never heard of before, and just fell in love with it. And that created the the drive to reblend United. And so we used Dominican broadleaf in the filler for all United sizes
Nice.
and blends. So United, we have the Connecticut, the Habano, and then the Maduro, and we use the Dominican broadleaf in all those blends, and it's just a fantastic cigar. But I bring up James at Sinistra because I was just in the Dominican, we kind of crossed paths, and talking to Ram, we were just talking about that tobacco, and they really liked it as well. I don't think they haven't used it for anything yet, but we were just talking about it. It's so he's got a good palate. They're good guys, and they have great products.
Yep, yeah, they are good guys, and they've got some great products. I know of them, because I had some dealings with them quite a couple of years back, and you are great guys, great cigars. But of course, out of the United Cigar line, what would you say is a great beginner cigar for a new cigar smoker coming into this and coming into it with a passion to try one of the United cigars? What would you say is a great beginner cigar for them?
I'd say either the United, we have the United Connecticut. The Habano would be a little step up, but either United or our La Giana line, which is a Honduran blend, and that one's very smooth, easygoing. A lot of, I think there's a lot of depth to La Giana, but there's just not a lot of spice, so it's not overpowering on the palate. So those, between those two, I think the tequila is giving me the hiccups now as we're saying it. But yeah, I'd say United or La Giana between those two, and then once, but for a beginner smoker, so that's always the complicated question. And I was kidding around when I said you haven't. It's not Ethan, Vitola, and Proof, but you were saying you haven't really dove into the tequila arena. So, and I said, well, that's the beauty of it. And when I just started out in the cigar industry as as a profession, we'd have people come into the store and they would talk about, well, what should I smoke? And you can kind of direct them by finding out what they eat, what they drink, what might be their tolerance for spice. And I would say, what the best part is, I can guide you to a couple, but just start from the left, go to the right, and figure out what works best for you. Because like I said with the Red Anchor earlier, I had some people say that it's a mild cigar. Some people say Adab is a mild cigar, but Adab is mild, and Red Anchor is mild on the palate, where there's not a lot of overpowering spice. But if you allow it and you're ready for it and your palate's developed, you'll be able to taste different levels as you're smoking through the cigar. So if you like a lot of spice, and you're a new smoker, you may smoke a La Giana and say that it's way too mild for you because you're used to something with spice. You may take jalapenos on your burger, where somebody else, if they have a drop of just the brine from the jalapeno, that ruins the entire burger for them because it's too spicy. So it really just depends on the palate.
Of course, Stogie Society podcast is just put over. Aside from the cigars, appreciate your humanitarian work that you do, specialising with how you help our families of fallen soldiers. And that was going to be my next question, of course. Can you tell us more about the humanitarian work that you do as well?
Yeah. I thank you. Humbling. I can't really say humanitarian work. We do little things just to give back a little bit. So for starters, in every single United box, we partnered. We donate back to Stars for Our Troops. It's an organization where veterans will cut out U.S. flags. So flags that are no longer in service because they're weathered or discolored. They're sent to this foundation, and veterans will cut out the stars. We give to the to stars for our troops. Then they send the stars to us. We send them to the Dominican, so that every single one of our boxes has a star inside of it to just give awareness and say thank you to a veteran and first responder. So that's a little piece, and then from there, it just kind of, I think with the United, branding, being United, has the American flag colors and it's very Americana. We wanted to do a little bit more as well. So we did a project called Gold Star, which was a brand that we launched in the mid 90s. And so this was one that we said, okay, again, with branding and something iconic, Gold Star just, pops. And that was one that I wanted to keep during FTA. But I said, we had to do a full rebranding and reblending. And to do the release last year, we worked with the Navy SEAL Museum and the Gold Star families, and we produced 210 boxes, 20 count boxes that were dedicated to the Gold Star family. So we donated 25 boxes back to the foundation. I don't know the total number yet, but we raised helped raise about 30 or 40, 50,000, something along those lines to give back to the Gold Star Navy SEAL Gold Star families. So, and it's such an amazing group that we were able to work with, not only the Navy SEAL Museum, but Swim with a Mission. If you guys ever have a chance, they do a lot of different events across the country between running, swimming, biking, like all different ways to raise money. But that weekend alone, there was a paintball event. That weekend alone, they raised over $1 million for the Gold Star family. So I was all excited. I'm like, wow, we're raising this money, but it's such a drop, and it just makes that made us feel good to see like the support that they have for these families, that they were able to raise far more than that. But yeah, we try to do, just trying to do our part to, to help and say thank you. And, it's because of our veterans and, the military here, and at least in the States for us, that we're able to enjoy a cigar in the lounge, have that freedom to, say what's on our mind, smoke a cigar where we want. And, we can walk the streets because of our first responders keeping us safe and, protected us and coming to our aid when we need it.
Yeah, we've got a company over here called Trident Military Cigars, and Trident, of course, give back to the fallen soldiers. Of course, our poppy appeal is to give back to. They also give to the families, of course, of the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, and they do a lot. And they take off every sale from a line of their cigars that they brought out, which is a five cigars in a tin, and basically they give so much back to the charities. And that's for, of course, our freedom here in the UK. And it's great to see yourselves, of course, at United doing that, and these other wonderful cigar companies out there that are helping charities, of course, bringing this out. It's like Silent Hero Cigars. A veteran, basically, he's doing some cigars, giving them away to raise money, of course, for the veterans' food banks. So, of course, for any of the veterans who use the food banks, he's giving back. And this is a great thing of where we see the cigar community with, like, of course, Cigars for Warriors and different things, where they're doing this and helping back. Because if it wasn't for, of course, the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, our first responders and all the rest, of course, in America and England, we wouldn't have the right to live the way we do and smoke a cigar and enjoy the cigar and enjoy the time that we've got with everybody. So for me, well done on the work that you do, and it's a great thing that you've done. We did have a question from Brian, and Brian's one of the Misfit brothers. And the Misfits, of course, like the big ring gauge cigars. And his question was, what's your thoughts on big ring gauge cigars? And I've already made my point on them. I don't like putting something that's the size of a donkey dick in my mouth, but that's my way of seeing it. It is.
Just so you have an understanding of the Misfits, when he says they like big gauge, they like the 880s, 990s, 10 100s.
100.
That's
That's crazy.
that's where they like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess for the I mean, as a purist, I guess it's hard to understand, but for the industry, for the market, I love it because it brings in a consumer that smokes it. I mean, there are companies that base their entire company philosophy around big ring gauge. We've worked with CLE and Asylum and Tom Lazuka and Christian Roa on some projects, and they Asylum has big ring gauge cigars and they do a tremendous job with it. It's not for me. We have some cigars in our portfolio. Our Abuelo Gran Abuelo is a 60 ring gauge. I just can't smoke it. The Red Anchor, we have the Commodore, close to a 60. It doesn't feel the same for me. I do like, even I'm smoking the Red Anchor. This is the Cooper, but it's the same ring gauge as the Gunner, which is a 43. The Cooper is an event only cigar, but these little cigars I enjoy more. I still remember when starting out, I would smoke a lot of the Partagas Robustos, which I think was a 50 ring gauge, and that was like a big cigar at the time.
Oh yeah.
Robusto just felt big, but now you look at it and I feel I'm like, this is tiny. But I usually don't go past a 54, maybe a 56. But I think it's good for the industry. I mean, it does. There's a place for it for sure.
Yeah, I've of course had a 70 ring gauge. Normally 60s is big enough for me, but I've started getting more into the smaller ring gauge cigars, of course, like your Coronas and different ones. And something, I've been enjoying them. Don't get me wrong, there's a cigar out there for everybody. Either
Mhm.
what ring gauge they're comfortable with, to what they want. And something, this is the great thing. Kurt must have just had a technical issue, but he will be back. And this is the thing. But my next question, of course, I've got two just before we wrap everything up because I know your time is valuable and I don't want to keep you all night talking. But what's next for United Cigars? What's next on the line of what you're going to be doing? Is there going to be some more collaborations, maybe, or is there going to be some more new United Cigars? Are we going to see United Cigars maybe coming to the English market? Have you ever thought about coming to the English market, or of course the European market? What's next for United Cigars?
Yeah, so I just went to my first Intertabak show in Dortmund, Germany, last month, and that was to evaluate, is it obviously it's healthy and it's good and it's strong, and there are a lot of companies that have been going to the show for a long time, so it's nothing new to say, hey, we're going to Intertabak, which is a big tobacco show in Germany every year. But I wanted to see, is it something that we can tackle as we're trying to tackle the U.S. market? Because even in the U.S. market, we're still growing. We're still, we're adding new accounts every day. So we're still going through a growth phase, and the accounts that we have, we're trying to help them grow. So, are we, ready for the European, or not only European, but Asian markets, Middle Eastern, all over. So yeah, I mean, we'd love to be out there, and we're looking at and having conversations with different distributors, and it's a longer process, but we'll see what can come of that. So I would say more outside of our borders, the expansion of United is coming, but we're also a small operation. It's myself that I oversee the operations for the company. We have our office crew, and our warehouse, but on the road we have some reps out there, but outside of that, to handle the operations, it's myself. So it's another undertaking when I know that we still have needs here stateside. So a little bit of both, but wanted to see it, to see what we could do. I think for United, we have some line extensions as opposed to new projects. There are some collaborations coming. We've been fortunate enough to have some retail partners that have partnered with us to brand their lounges with us. So we have the Adab Lounge in Frisco, Texas, with Industrial Cigars. We have the Byron Cigar Lounge in Schaumburg, Illinois. We have the Byron Cigar Lounge also in Franklin, Tennessee, with Franklin Cigar and the Artisan. We have the Adab Lounge in Peoria, Arizona, with Ambassador Cigars. We have the Red Anchor Lounge with two guys in Nashua, New Hampshire. So we've had some discussions where there some other retail partners that want to expand with us and do more. So look for that and more support. And we've had some good growth, so there will be a little more expansion coming your way, at least at least stateside.
Yeah, I think over here anyway with the UK market, a lot of things are happening, and of course now we're going to more of a track and trace system, and of course this track and trace system is the biggest one that's going to be hitting the UK market, and of course hitting the cigar industry, of course, with the cigars that are brought to the UK with these different barcodes on, of course, the cigar boxes, having like a passport system basically. So we know where, of course, the cigar's made, to then it going to the distribution centre, from the distribution centre then, of course, to the UK. And then it doesn't have to have a rest of a passport when it goes to, of course, the cigar smoker like myself. And a lot of companies are worried about that. Do you think this is going to be a big knock-on effect to the cigar market with what we're doing in the UK? Or do you think it's a good thing that we're doing? Because in my eyes, I see it's a good thing because it's going to stop this kind of black market society where cigars are coming in. You're seeing Mr. Joe Bloggs down the road selling a box of cigars, and we don't know if it's real or if it's fake. I think that's going to stop a lot of these. I think it's also going to stop a lot of, I don't want to say it, but it does happen, where cigar shops here in the UK, they go to the States, they buy cigars from the States, bring them and sell them. They haven't come through the importer and shouldn't be on the market, but they sell them. I think it's going to put a stop to that as well. But I just want to get your take on this, Oliver, and see where you think, is it a good thing, or do you think it's going to be one of these where it's going to hit the market, it's going to be a slow time to regain the money back, but then it could become a good thing?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's never going to stop the black market, because even with all the taxation, cigarettes are stamped here in the US, and they're not supposed to cross borders. They're what's to say, because you're when you're talking about it's only going to slow down or hurt the ones that are trying to do the right thing, because then the guy down the street, to your point of British merchants selling a box that they purchased in the US, the guy down the street can say, well, yeah, I bought this in fact, I don't think Denmark has they don't have track and trace. There are certain countries that don't have track and trace. So when you look at the larger global scale of the market, and then you have a smaller portion of it that is trying to control it, you're just going to have people going outside to maybe get something different, or that doesn't have track and trace, or how can you say if it's real or not? It's not going to stop counterfeiting. We have, like in the US, we have states that have different tobacco taxes, but all that does, for example, I'm in New Hampshire with 0% tobacco tax. People from Massachusetts will drive up and buy cigars here, then go back home. New York has a high tobacco tax. I have friends there that will leave there, even go to New Jersey, which has a lower tobacco tax. So if they don't want to drive to Pennsylvania, which has 0% tobacco tax. So people work around it. I understand what they're trying to do again, but it just presents larger issues down the line.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop. Yeah, it's not going to stop the the counterfeiting or anything like that. So I think it's a good
Yeah,
thing for now. It's
that's
it's definitely caused some problems to recoup your money, the time, the effort, the
oh, yeah.
processes. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's like when we get together and we talk about different cigars, and the guys always wind me up and they go, "Oh yeah, we just got this for like $10,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Okay, how much is that cigar for you guys?" You know, $30 to $40. They're like, "No,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Yeah." And the biggest example, and I don't want to take this away. Of course, we're talking about United, but Drew Estate, of course, with the factory smoke, $2 cigar over here. It's $15 for a Robusto.
Yeah.
That's a $2 cigar in the States. And that's how it taxes and import and different things. And it gets harder for a cigar smoker to enjoy a cigar when we're seeing this. And my biggest thing is when a deal's done with a cigar company, how much are they telling the cigar company there's this cigar's going to sell for? And are the cigar companies happy with the price of the cigars? Because we've spoken to people from in the cigar community and they said, look, we've put a cigar out that was $30. We pulled it back because that's too much. And if that came to the UK, we couldn't bring that to the UK because it's going to be too much of a cigar. And we're not that kind of company to have the dear cigars out. Do you think that cripples some companies where they have a cigar and it's too much money? And then,
Yeah.
I just don't know. I've heard that many things, and I just want to get your take on this one as well. I do.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts. So for United, it hurts the United. She can come out. My dog's at the door. Sorry. So yeah, it hurts like smaller companies. So you talk about a $2 factory smoke that would be 15 there. I met with distributors while I was at the show that they're looking at different cigars in the portfolio, and for an example of a cigar that would be 250, their cost, they were saying, well, that's going to be a $10-12 cigar here in Germany. So to
Jeez.
to look at a cigar that they're looking to bring in to distribute, they're like, oh, we like the cigar, we're familiar with it. We'd like to bring it in, but it's going to be a $10-12 cigar here, which doesn't have the same weight in the name as like a Drew Estate or something like that. So they're going to keep their shelf space for that.
Yeah.
And even though they know that the markup is going to be huge, there are still people that will pay, $10, $12, $15 for that cigar that they know might be too, but that's just the market there. So they're willing to pay for it, but it hurts smaller companies that are trying to expand and move into different markets. So it presents a problem. Yeah.
So my last question of the night, and of course the guys already know, 5 people, alive or dead, that you would like to sit and smoke a cigar with, and it doesn't have to be from the cigar community or the cigar industry. It could be from music or sport or a history figure. But 5 people, alive or dead, that you would like to sit and smoke a cigar with.
Yeah, first one hands down is I'd love to sit with Jimmy Buffett. I was just always been a fan. He passed last year, and but I've always had him on my list as a guy that I would just like to sit with and share a cocktail and a cigar with. He always had just such an interesting life. Number 2, wow, 5, huh?
Yep.
I gotta sit back for this one. Ronald Reagan, put him down. Again, to make that that branch from, or that leap from being a Western cowboy actor to politics and running the presidency. I'd say Ronald Reagan. It could get off cigars, and we might dive into something else, but Bob Marley would be another one that had a lot of influence on my younger years.
Yep.
But that could be interesting. Let's see. Who else? One that a man that just passed, Luis Tiant, Cuban heritage, and played for quite a few teams in the major leagues. But he was a pitcher for the Red Sox, so I'd love to sit with him. And
Yankees.
no, they're on. Game 4 just started.
I don't want to hear about it.
And then what I got? No, I got my 5th one, huh?
Yep.
I guess one. I don't even know who it would be, but one. The family member that I guess started the family name. My last name, Nivaud. Who was? I'm thinking about who was that guy. I'm gonna even have to dig because I hate to say who was that guy, but I knew my grandparents, I knew my great grandmother, but going deeper. My mother's side of the family had family ties to the French Revolution, so they go way back, but yeah, just to see where the name Nivaud came from and how that originated.
Yeah, some great answers there.
Lifelike, yeah.
Yeah, there's some great answers, and something. Some people have brought up, of course, Reagan. Some have brought up Bob Marley. Some have brought up, of course, different people. I brought up Ozzy Osbourne because me with Ozzy Osbourne, there's a big thing of he's a Midlander, like I am. I'm in Stoke-on-Trent, which is the Midlands. He was in Birmingham, which is in the Midlands, and Ozzy Osbourne lived 30 minutes away from my town. Of course, he played some concerts in my town. When he bought a house, he lived in Staffordshire, which was only an hour away from me. And to see him come from the Midlands and the roots of where he started, with, of course, the industrial side of the buildings and a lot of work being this 9 to 5, you're in a factory non-stop, that he didn't want with having dyslexia like myself and different things.
Yeah,
He'd be the guy that I want to sit down with and smoke a cigar with and say, look, how have you seen now the Midlands and Birmingham thrive from where it used to be? And it's like, of course, Led Zeppelin. You look at Led Zeppelin, started off in England. They didn't want to be in that industrial side and how they grew. And we've all come up with great guests that we'd like to sit down and smoke cigars with. Don't get me wrong, we've brought up some weird ones like Arnold Schwarzenegger to sit down with, of course, Jack Nicholson, different ones. And there's no wrong answer, there's no right answer, because it's people that we want to sit with. And this is the thing. And like I say, great answers. And yet again, thank you, Oliver, for joining us tonight on the Cigar Loons podcast. It's been an excellent chat with you, finding more out about United,
absolutely.
of course, where you started, finding out about the cigars. And like I say to anyone, go and check out United Cigars and go and buy their cigars and try them, because there's a lot in that portfolio that is there for you to smoke and that you're going to enjoy. And of course, as you've heard Oliver say, there's going to be some more lines coming out of United, and of course, some more collaborations. I can't wait to see who these collaborations are going to be with. And you know something? Like I say, the guys are excited, we're excited, and thank you to everyone who's been watching us tonight on YouTube, on Instagram, and on rumble.com. And again, thank you again, Oliver. And Kurt, going to pass it around to you guys anyway for say thank you and stuff. But Kurt, I'll go with you now and then pass it along.
Well, Oliver, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here with us. We're just a small podcast, and for you to be here with us, it's something special for us. We've had a lot of great guests and with just a wealth of knowledge, but I put you right up there with a lot of guests that we've had. Just your knowledge, just really thank you for your time. It means a lot to us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Grumpy.
Hey, once again, appreciate you taking time to be here with us. I enjoyed learning about the Adab like I said, that tweaked my interest when I started looking into things, even though I didn't have to ask. See, great minds, they on the track together. So, but I thank you for being here. You're welcome. As far as I'm concerned, you're welcome back anytime you want to come.
Thank you, Robbie.
Jesse.
Of course, we'll go down to Matthew. Oh,
Or
you're going to
Matthew.
Jess. And then we'll get to
Whoever. One of them guys down there.
No, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, to be here with us. We understand that you're a busy man and you're a family man, and we appreciate the time. We really do. It's been a pleasure talking to you. It's been an honor to know what you know, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I'm all discombobulated. But again, thank you. I learned a lot tonight. I'm definitely looking forward to getting some more of you guys' cigars and exploring that big portfolio you got. So thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you around.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. And of course, next week, we're not going to be live on Tuesday because, of course, it's going to be voting in the United States for your president. So we're going to be live on Thursday. And it's going to be pipes and cigars. So, of course, you're going to have myself, Kurt, and Grumpy smoking a pipe, and we're going to be going over our pipe tobacco, what we like. Of course, Matthew, if he's not, of course, got the dreaded COVID, which losing taste sounds like COVID coming, which I'm not hoping he tears for him. I hate saying that word, but hopefully Matthew will be with us smoking a cigar, and Jess is going to be smoking a cigar. We're going to be, of course, live at our normal time of 7 p.m. Eastern, of course, 6 p.m. Central, of course, 4 p.m. Pacific. And if I've got my facts right, it's going to be 12 a.m. UK because tonight we're live at 11 UK because of the time difference. And of course, we're going to catch up with the guys in the United States and we'll be on the same time length again. All these crazy times with everyone everywhere. But I hope we'll get used to it. We will. But of course, we'll be live again next week. And it's going to be on a Thursday. And it's going to be us. And we've got some more great guests coming up. Like, of course, we've had Oliver. We've got some other guests coming, and it's going to be a great time. So please make sure to hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please hit that notification button. We really appreciate it. Go and check out, of course, the Cigar Loons website. You'll find out different blogs on there about cigars. Of course, links to our, of course, sponsors like Famous, of course, Cigar Page, GQ Tobacconist if you're in the UK. Go and check out them, of course, please. And we really appreciate it. And you know something, again, Oliver, for me, it's a great big thank you for joining us tonight, of course, talking to us. And, of course, my word is, stay smoky, everyone. Kurt?
Smoke them if you got them. We'll see you next week.
Grumpy?
Hey, I love you. Jesus loves you. But if he ain't driving the bus, pull it over. Let Jesus take the wheel. Till next time, catch me later.
Jesse?
That's right. Everybody, have a great night. And remember, keep them lit.
And Matthew?
Don't start none, won't be none. Peace.
And we'll see you next week, everyone. Have a great one, and we'll catch you all next week. See you later.
Loons podcast. We are the invaders of the cigar world. Cigar Kurt, the front porch cowboy. It's a ginger grizzly bear with a super palate. Cigar Loons invaders of the cigar world. Grumpy preacher, the conspiracy theory expert. Cigar Lovers podcast, come and join us. Vitola and proof expert on all things spirits. Tobacco G, Stitch director of special operations. Cigar Loons podcast. We are the invaders of the cigar world. Cigar Kurt, the front porch cowboy. As a ginger grizzly bear with a superpower. Cigar Loons, invaders of the cigar world. Preacher, the conspiracy theory expert. Cigar Loons podcast, come and join us.